Hey guys, welcome back to another one of my crafty tutorials. I am Megan from meganplus5.com and you are on day 7 of DIY Christmas ornaments. So one of my most popular posts on my blog is a DIY light up fairy jar, and I thought it would be super fun to make it in a like mini version ornament form. I found these tiny little mason jar looking ornaments at the Dollar Tree, and I instantly knew what I wanted to make with it. So I will leave a link below to all the materials that I used, and if you guys have any questions, please let me know. So the first thing that you want to do is to cut a fairy out on vinyl, and I'm using Oracal 631, and then I'm just using shelf liner paper as my transfer tape. And you want to cut the transfer tape down to size so that you can fit it inside of the jar, because you're going to be putting the fairy on the inside of the jar, not on the outside. On my post on my website, we actually use a cardstock fairy, but I thought for this, since it's so tiny and it's on plastic, I wasn't sure how it would adhere. A heavy cardstock anyways would adhere to the inside. I just went ahead and used vinyl for this step. So I used an ink pen to help me guide the vinyl cutout into the jar, and that worked really well. I tried to use my hands, and I could see that that was going to be a total big fat mess, so the pen worked really well for that. And then I just used my finger and pushed down that fairy and got out all of the air bubbles. And then I used an X-Acto knife to peel up one corner of the shelf liner paper. And then when I peeled it off of the fairy, I didn't pull out. I just kind of rolled the shelf liner paper off of the fairy. So I rolled it against the inside of the plastic mason jar. And now you want to cut out a piece of tissue paper. And I just used regular old white tissue paper. And you want to cut it to where it's a little bit bigger than the size of your ornament. So you want to remove the top of your ornament, and then we're going to be using matte finish Mod Podge to apply the tissue paper to the front of your ornament. So for right now, we're just going to focus on the front face of the ornament. We're going to get to the top later, and then we're not going to put anything around the bottom where the cap screws onto it. So you want to work this in sections. So you want to work about, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches at a time, and just apply the matte finish Mod Podge, and you want to get an even layer of the Mod Podge on there. And I'm just using a regular paintbrush for this. So this is the same paintbrush that I use to paint my orders from Etsy that I get. And just make sure that it's an even layer on there. And then take your tissue paper and lay it on there. And you want to have the majority of the overhang on the top part of the ornament, but you also want to have a little bit of overhang on the bottom. And then pat it down. You don't want to like push it down really hard because it will rip. But it's okay if it does rip. I will show you how to fix that later. And then you just want to continue that step of applying the Mod Podge to the face of the ornament, and then patting down the tissue paper until you get all the way around. And like I said, if you do get a small little rip in it, it is totally okay. I will show you how to fix that in just a bit. And then you just want to overlay the seam slightly and then cut off the extra. And then you want the top to hang over about 1 inch, and then just trim off the extra. And then you want to cut slits all the way around, and this way it'll allow that tissue paper to fold nicely around the curve of the top there without having a ton of air bubbles in it. And then just working with one piece at a time, paint some Mod Podge on your ornament, and then fold down that little section, and then just work your way all the way around. and then use your scissors to trim off the overhang. If you have areas where your tissue paper tore, it is okay. So what you want to do is just put some Mod Podge over it, and then take a little piece of the discarded part that you cut off, and basically you're going to bandage over it. And don't worry, you won't be able to notice this once your jar is all the way finished. Okay, so now you need to apply the glitter, and the best way to do this is to paint Mod Podge on the front of your jar and then sprinkle the glitter on it. So you want to work in small sections again, like you did when you were applying the tissue paper to the front of it. So paint it on a few inches at a time and then sprinkle your glitter. And I'm using extra fine iridescent glitter. We have tried colored glitter before, and it just doesn't look right. It looks really out of place. So I highly recommend using the extra fine iridescent glitter. A little tip: whenever you are working with this, you want to put something underneath your workspace so that you can put whatever does not stick to your ornament back into your glitter canister. So I will typically use a piece of paper, or like in this instance I'm using just a piece of black tissue paper, and then whatever falls off I'm just gonna put right back into my glitter containers, so that way I can keep as much as I can and save it for another project later. So I'm using some fake snow. It's glittery, it's super cute, and I just painted it with a paintbrush onto my little accents that I used. And then you want to put the bottom cap and the top cap back on. And then for this next part, I have no idea what happened. I thought that I had hit record. Obviously I did not, because whenever I got done putting the top part on with the moss and everything, I looked at my phone and it was not recording. So I'm like, oh my gosh, Megan, you are such an idiot. But basically what I'm showing here with the hot glue gun, these are the exact steps that you want to do on the top as well. I just don't have the video for that because I didn't hit record for some reason. So you want to put some hot glue on there, and I'm using a high temp glue gun, but if you're letting kids do this, I highly recommend they use a low temp gun. The high temp glue guns are just way too hot and they could blister if they get that glue on them when it's hot. So you just want to work in little small sections. Just put some glue on there, push some moss on there, and then it'll probably try to come back up, but just kind of push it back down more and more, and then eventually it'll stay. And you want to do that until the whole thing is covered on the top and the bottom. And then I just took that glittery fake snow in the same paintbrush and I painted it all over the place. I didn't really have a rhyme or reason to it. I just started to paint it all over because I wanted it to look super wintry, and I think that it turned out really cute on the moss. And then I added it to the jar itself. So I went around the top where the jar starts and then the bottom. And then I framed the fairy in. So I went, I don't know, like a third of the way up and a third of the way down. I didn't go all the way into the middle, and just kind of like did it a little bit thicker in those areas. And I think that it looked really cute like that. Now before you add your light, you want to make sure that your fairy jar is dry, because that snow does take quite a while to dry, and I just used a blow dryer to speed up that process. And you just want to untwist the bottom and then put your tea light in there and then twist the bottom back on there. Now your winter fairy jar is complete. So you can hang this on the tree, or you can really put it anywhere you want to. It doesn't have to go on the Christmas tree, but I made this one specifically for our Christmas tree. If you have any questions, please leave them below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so that you're notified whenever I post another crafty tutorial. And be sure to stop by my blog, meganplus5.com. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye.